So, when the trailer for Resident Evil 7 was shown at E3 2016, everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And after the game's release, it was pretty obvious that they finally made an actual Resident Evil game. A Resident Evil that felt like the other Resident Evils. You know, the good ones. Finally, after so many attempts, they were able to capture the feel of the old school Resident Evils. Not that they were trying, but even more than that, they made it work. In first person! Resident Evil 7 was an amazing success. A true Resident Evil. And I love this game. But as I kept playing it, I couldn't help but feel like something was missing. Something that made the other Resident Evils, well, Resident Evil. So let's look closely at what exactly is missing in this game. Also, spoilers. Lots and lots of spoilers. You've been warned. Okay, so Resident Evil 7... What the fuck? Oh! Oh, hey, Grandma! Alright, I'm just gonna do my thing here, okay? Don't mind me. Okay, so Resident Evil 7 started in a very different way from the other games. Maybe it needed a different intro. No freaking way. This game has one of the best intros in any Resident Evil game. Nay! It has the best intro. For the first time in a really long time, I felt genuine fear in a Resident Evil game. As soon as you enter the guest house, it's a crazy ride down to Fearland. From the disgusting kitchen to the creepy basement, it is just pure fear. Then you find your girlfriend and you think, everything's gonna be okay. But guess what? You're wrong! Turns out your girlfriend is a crazy weird looking monster that wants to murder you. At this point in the game, there has been almost no information fed to the player. You have no way to defend yourself, and you don't know what to do or even how to react to everything that is happening. Even the quick time events are confusing. They tell you to press a button, but they don't specify if you need to tap or hold it. Then your hand gets pierced by a knife, and you think you probably didn't do the quick time event correctly. In almost every game, failing a quick time event, it's instant game over. But here, nothing tells you that you failed it. But at the same time, it doesn't look like you did a good job either. I guess that maybe they wanted to remove the quick time event, and this was the way of saying that QTEs are stupid and you don't need to worry about them anymore. Because I don't remember any quick time events other than the ones from the intro of the game. Then you get an axe and you gently give it to your girlfriend. Oh no! I'm the monster! Then she shows up again, all nice and normal. Oh, maybe everything's okay now. You think, but guess what? She still wants to murder you! She shoves more stuff in your hands. God, woman, what is your deal with this hand? That's my good hand! Okay, listen, you thought that getting your hand pierced by a knife and a screwdriver in the same day was bad? Just wait until she gets the chainsaw and fucking tears it off! No! Screw you! You're the monster! I'm a lovely person! This intro, it's not just an amazing intro for a Resident Evil game. This is a whole new level of Resident Evil. It broke every expectation you had about this game in the first few minutes of gameplay. It was absolutely genius. And then you get punched by Daddy.
Welcome to the family, son.
Okay, so not the intro. What then? Oh, hey, Grandma. You're still there. Can I get you anything? Some water, maybe? No? Oh, okay, then I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, alright? Alright. Okay, so the Baker family. I love them.
Shit, he's not eating it, Jack! He's not eating it!
Shut the hell up, Marguerite!
For him.
The Bakers were that type of character that not only were scary as hell, but also kind of hilarious. I was laughing throughout the whole dinner scene. Lucas acts like an idiot and Jack freaking cuts his arm off. Wait, did you say again? Marguerite gets really offended by my manners. I'm just not hungry right now.
You're a son of a bitch!
The only part I didn't laugh was when Jack was cutting my face. That was scary. I mean, the whole scene was scary, but at the same time, it was also kinda hilarious. And hey, Grandma's also here. See, Grandma? You're in the game! Oh, good lord, that's unsettling. These guys are awesome. They showed so much personality, and they were on screen for like 2 minutes. How is that even possible? Jack is a real family man. He's definitely the scariest one. And also the grossest. He's kinda like Nemesis in a way, as he shows up randomly around the house and you can shoot him down but never totally kill him. Huh. He actually reminds me of someone else, but I can't remember who. But anyways, Jack is awesome. You also fight him in some specific boss fight events. 3 times! He is persistent. And no, it's not recycled boss fights. Each fight is very different and very creative. In one of them, you're running him over with the car. Or he's running you over, depending on how that situation goes. In the other one, you're having an epic chainsaw battle. It's freaking awesome! It doesn't really have a chainsaw, it's like a pair of scissors, but it works like a chainsaw. You know what? It doesn't matter. And then you shove the chainsaw on his weird... I don't even know what to call that. And then it explodes! And his legs go for one last walk. A really short one. Or like in that one fight where he has a weird looking body covered with eyes, just like any good Resident Evil boss. Jack is the most intimidating of the bakers, no doubt. But Marguerite, she's the funniest. Throughout the game, when Marguerite shows up, she's constantly cursing, dropping F-bombs, and using a lot of words with cock on them.
You cocksucker! Suck his shit cock! Alright, you little cock!
I love her. In the game, Marguerite represents entomophobia. Entomophobia. Is that how you say it? Entomophobia or insectophobia is the fear of bugs and insects, according to Wikipedia. And Marguerite is here to brand our fears, throwing you spiders and bees every chance she gets.
Stay the fuck out!
Oh! And her boss form, you ask? A freaking spider! A very gross looking spider. Spider Mama! And when she dies, this happens. This freaks me out so much. It's kind of like the same feeling I have when I look at trypophobia-inducing pictures. Ugh, it's so weird. And then you have Lucas. He's definitely the craziest one. This guy watched way too many Saw movies. He doesn't even have a boss fight. You just go through his maze and then get stuck in some sort of puzzle escape room with this thing. I like it, it's fun. Man, I love the bakers. Most people think they're terrifying. I just think they're hilarious. Don't get me wrong, they are scary as hell, especially when running after you or in those weird looking forms. And when I say they're hilarious, I don't mean it as in you're so bad it's hilarious type of way. I honestly think the developers made a conscious decision of making them particularly crazy to highlight their unstable psychotic minds.
I'm gonna take you for a ride.
I just happened to notice the funny side of all that craziness. But I don't know, I'm a weirdo, so. Oh hey, Grandma, hey! I'm just gonna stay here, okay? Personal space and whatnot. Please help me! But what about the game itself? Well, changing the view from third person to first person was a huge risk that Capcom had to make. So you're damn right I was scared when I heard this for the first time, but it was actually a great move on their part. The horror is all up in your face.
Jesus!
Ethan is kind of a cardboard character.
Don't you stand there! Do something!
Ethan, help!
Damn it!
But the lack of personality in Ethan didn't bother me that much, honestly. I was too busy running and screaming for my life. And, speaking of screaming, just like Leon in Resident Evil 4, Ethan's death scream is, priceless. I love it. Graphically, this is one of the best looking Resident Evils ever. From the sunny opening forest to the decaying guest house, from the baker's house to the disgusting claustrophobic basement, this game is a graphical achievement. Character models look exceptionally good. And also very creepy. The monsters are gross and very Resident Evil-like for the most part. And the atmosphere in this game is so good. It's like I'm really there. The baker's main house gave me a lot of Spencer Mansion vibes, and it is definitely my favorite setting of the game. And the kids' room was probably one of the scariest parts after the intro. I mean, you're in complete panic throughout that whole segment. You just want to shoot at something to defend yourself because unlike the intro, now you have guns. Out of the way, kids, I'm about to start shooting! But what can you shoot when there's nothing really there? Or is it? Yep, a modern Resident Evil game with an amazing psychological horror segment. Praise the Lord! And the gore in this game, it's pretty gory.
What the fuck?
From the police officer's lobotomy.
Deputy.
Fine. From the deputy's lobotomy from Jack. Lovely. To you literally shoving your arm inside of his corpse. How does that feel, Mr. Deputy? The game is gory and gross, but it doesn't just rely on those things to make you feel uncomfortable. The creepy atmosphere and the unsettling sound design both work wonderfully to set an uncomfortable mood throughout the game. And unlike other games, it doesn't need everything to be pitch black in order to be scary. And, speaking of sound design, how awesome is that theme song? This is probably my favorite theme song in any Resident Evil game. One thing that surprised me was just how Resident Evil this game is. From the inventory system to gathering items and having to manage the inventory accordingly. From grabbing a key with a specific symbol that opens doors with that same symbol on it, to saving bullets and being very careful to where and when you use them. I mean, this just screams Resident Evil. From the long, creeping, claustrophobic hallways to the dark and wet underground mines. They even have a shotgun room where you need to find a replacement in order to take that shotgun out. Just like the original Resident Evil. They finally did it. They listened to the fans and gave us exactly what we wanted. We wanted another Resident Evil. A true Resident Evil. And they delivered it. But even after this amazing experience, I still felt like something was missing. And now you guys ask, Lex, is it because there's no lab scene in the game? And that could be the answer. I mean, I've told you before how I love the lab parts from the Resident Evil games, but no, that's not it. The lack of a lab wouldn't have bothered me that much, even though in this game was pretty much not existing. I mean, seriously, it's like 2 rooms. And aside from mixing the antivirus thing for Evelyn, what do you do in those rooms, you ask? You read! Reading! Really? Reading? And now you ask, was it because the final boss was too easy? No. A lot of people complained about the final boss, and I don't get it. Yes, it was very easy, especially when compared to the other bosses in the game. But goddamn, that was epic! At first, her whole face is inside the room. And after that, she becomes this gigantic beast. She grabs you by the leg and you fight her in the air. It's so epic! Again, I know, it's easy and almost impossible to screw up. Which I did. Oh my god, Lixian, just get to the point! Alright, Jesus! In my opinion, the missing piece in this game was the enemies. More specifically, the lack of enemy variety. What the fuck are you talking about? You have the bakers and the molded. What more could you want? Indeed, the bakers are the bosses of the game. Most of them at least. And the molded are your typical enemies. I'm using the word typical very loosely here. In classic Resident Evils, you have zombies. In Resident Evil 4, zombies were replaced with ganados. In Revelations, you have the ooze. Every single one of these games has a primary enemy. And in Resident Evil 7, that enemy is the molded. The problem here is that that's pretty much it. There's almost no enemy variety after that. I'm confused. And my head is starting to hurt. Okay, let me give you a few examples. In Resident Evil 1, the remake, you have zombies, Crimson Head, Cerberus, crows, bees, hunters, spiders, chimeras, giant snake, Neptune. And these are not all of them. And the last 2 are bosses. In Resident Evil 2, you have zombies, lickers, Cerberus, crows, spiders, plants, giant alligator, giant moth, and a million forms from Birkin. And yet again, not all of the enemies in that game. The last 3 are bosses. Now, let's take a look at Resident Evil 7. In Resident Evil 7, you have the molded with slightly bigger arms, spider molded, fat molded, small spiders and bees, big beast, 3 Jack forms, Spider Mama, Mia and Evelyn. And that's it. That's all of them. All enemies and bosses. Look, I don't want to sound like an ungrateful idiot, because the boss fights are exceptionally well made in this game. And Marguerite technically has 2 parts, but I don't see the first one as a legit boss fight. But what about the rest of the game? What about the enemies that are just normal enemies. As normal as Resident Evil enemies can be. All of the other molded are variants from the first one. And that's not to say they aren't scary, because they are. The first time you encounter these, you're just like, what the fuck am I looking at? The spider ones are deadly fast and intimidating. And the fat one is infuriating, and you don't even encounter him that many times. In my Resident Evil 4 video, I talked about how Resident Evil used the fact that it was a virus to expand the enemy types to animals and insects, creating a lot more enemy variety instead of just zombies. And here it's just molded. But Lex, listen. Why is she here? I have no idea. I'm freaking out a bit. Yeah, she has that effect on people. Oh God! Jesus! Oh, what? Why? It's just her thing. I don't get it. Christ. Anyways, listen, they couldn't add zombies or chimeras because it wouldn't fit in with the story. And that's why stories should be created around the game and its mechanics and not the other way around. Because you will end up limiting your game and what you can add to it. But that's honestly my only complaint about Resident Evil 7. And it's not even really a complaint because the monsters that do exist in this game are still amazing and terrifying. But by the end of the game, after mowing down so many molded, they aren't even that intimidating anymore. But okay, I'm gonna give Capcom the benefit of the doubt and assume that this game was sort of a test run of a slower, more atmospheric Resident Evil to see how the fans would react to it, and hopefully do more Resident Evils like this one. I just wish it had a bit more enemy variety, even if it was molded like creatures. And I also think the molded themselves are kind of an intimidating creature to show up so early in the game. I mean, all of them are intimidating, but wouldn't it be better if instead of a straight up fully formed molded, we could have like a human type creature with mold forming on their bodies, making them slightly zombie-esque monsters? Like this guy. Gross. And as you progress through the game, they would become more and more like the molded we see in the actual game. They could also have done molded animals. Like, wouldn't it be cool, since this game was so inspired on the original Resident Evil in the remake, to have like a mold-filled snake boss? Or just as a regular enemy? How freaking cool would that be? Or mold crows, or even mold alligators, since we're near a swamp and... I mean, this is Louisiana. Just a few extra enemy types to carry the game and make it less repetitive in the enemy department. But again, I can't really complain about Resident Evil 7. Capcom finally listened to what the fans were saying and made Resident Evil a force to be reckoned with. Again, this game deserves all the praise and love it has been getting, and I will continue to praise this game for eternity. Still waiting on that DLC, by the way. The fact that the molded were the only non-boss enemy type did not bother me that much, okay? This is really just nitpicking. But it just made me wonder what this game could have been if it had just a bit more enemy variety. A few more enemies would have made this a better game. But I can't be too hard on Resident Evil when, after doing so many things wrong in the previous installments, did pretty much everything right in Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil is back. Well, I mean, that's just my opinion. The game could also have had a few more puzzles other than just the shadow ones, but oh well. Oh, you're leaving. Oh, okay, bye, Grandma. That was weird. Wait, I just remembered. He actually reminds me of someone else, but I just remembered. Jack not only reminds me of Nemesis, but he also reminds me of... Thank you so much for watching. This video ended up being way longer than I expected, and it took way more time to complete than I anticipated, so I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I wanted to talk about the monsters in Resident Evil 7, but I also wanted to give my thoughts on the game, so the video ended up being huge. And I now realize that this video is 90% me gushing about how great this game is, and then the other 10% nitpicking about the monsters. But anyways, what do you guys think? Did you also think that the game had a lack of enemy variety, or were the enemies not an issue to you? Did you even like Resident Evil 7? And do you think going first person was a good or a bad idea? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on the game. A huge thanks to all my lovely Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. The feedback on the Outlast 2 video was amazing, and I'm really glad you guys are enjoying this new series because I love making it, no matter how much time it takes to make an episode of it. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care.